Well, Ohio State got it done this weekend. Ultimately, that's the most important thing. We keep stressing that. We don't want to lose sight of the fact that the Buckeyes picked up a 20-point win at home. But this is the second game in a row now where there have been some extended periods of lackluster performances from some spots on this team. Ultimately, it hasn't cost Ohio State quite yet, but gosh, there are some big games coming down the pipe. And this is the time of the week right now when we jump into our film review podcast where we're going to be a little more critical when it's warranted, because Ohio State has got to fix a few things here if they want to legitimately win a national championship. We got a lot to talk about. We're going to dive into it next. You're watching the Buckeye Breakdown Podcast, our film review session after the Buckeyes beat Maryland.
We've got the whole crew together as we cover Ohio State
with our instant analysis from Ohio State.
There's something that doesn't feel right.
Unbelievable effort from him today.
Is E.J. Liddell going to crack the first team All-Big Ten?
I think he can be the guy. I'm not trying to start a quarterback controversy.
He seems to have the durability. He certainly has the toughness. This is the question on a lot of people's minds here. Welcome to Buckeye Breakdown.
Hey, everybody. Happy Monday evening. Glad to be with you on the Buckeye Breakdown Podcast. I'm Brendan Gulick along with Anthony Moeglin, and this is one of our favorite shows of the week because not only are we talking football, but we're looking at it and we're breaking down exactly why we think things went so well or so poorly. And Anthony, of course, is a former college quarterback, has a pretty good eye for that kind of stuff. So looking forward to your insights. Anthony, this is obviously an interesting time to be an Ohio State fan, because you're not used to winning games that aren't like, wow, that was a convincing, spectacular, thumping of a win. I mean, ultimately a 3-touchdown win. Let's not lose sight of the fact they beat a Big Ten team by 20 points at home, and they're a good team, right? It's not like they beat up on Northwestern, but gosh, there was just some pretty ugly moments there in the first quarter and into the second quarter.
Yeah, no question. And it was from both sides too, right? Some of the time the offense was struggling a little bit and the defense was kind of picking it up, and a little bit on the other side of things too, where the defense may have been struggling and the offense kind of was picking it up. So it was certainly an up and down tape, no question about it. And some really good, some not so good. Again, on both sides of the ball. I thought that, my favorites, and we'll get into it, I thought our secondary started a little slow, but kind of picked it up. I thought our defensive line from start to finish, whether it was a run or a pass, was getting after the quarterback and really wreaking havoc in the backfield. A lot of question marks. Surprisingly, from the linebacker position. And I know that throughout the day today and throughout Sunday and even Saturday evening, that's been kind of the rhetoric throughout Buckeye Nation. There's some question marks there. But yeah, I thought there was some really good stuff from all the position groups and some stuff to continue to improve on.
We'll dive into the tape here in just a moment, but I kind of want to find how we can strike the right balance here of not having like, hey, Buckeye Nation, sound the alarm bell, panic, like this ain't good, right? That's not fair. You're 5-0. You beat Notre Dame at Notre Dame in one of the iconic finishes, to a game in recent history, and certainly one of the all-time great endings to a game ever in Ohio State history. Maryland, I think, should have been ranked. I thought it was kind of lousy that they weren't. I know, that's probably a little bit more voter bias of people wanting to see that they're for real, but they've clearly got some really talented players on that team. I thought it was a sham that at 5-0, they were not in the top 25 when LSU was. I think we all know why that is. It's, if Maryland was in the SEC, they'd probably be in the top 15. So, I mean, look, I don't want to downplay the fact that Ohio State has now played back-to-back, I think, really quality opponents. Yes, Notre Dame did lose this weekend too. But there's just that element of like, you kind of get used to the spectacular with this program. And, this feels like a little bit of coming back down to earth moment. This team's excellent in a lot of ways, but they feel a little more human than what I've seen from them the last couple of years. The defense has improved to the point that I think it's maybe hiding some of those mistakes. I don't want to be like Debbie Downer about it, but I think Ohio State is vulnerable. I mean, they look beatable. They've got to get it right.
And there's two thoughts that come to mind when you say that. I think the first is that we've been very lucky to be spoiled by greatness, right? You know, the past 5 or so years, you know, there haven't been many games that have even been close in a lot of areas. And you've had dominant defensive plays. Obviously, in the past, it's been a lot of the big play stuff, and like, hey, you've improved that, but now you're lacking in other areas. So I think we've been spoiled by like really, really good. And another point I would make to not go super sound the alarm is that when you look around the landscape of college football, every team's really experiencing this. I think that you saw maybe one team kind of make a separation this week, and it was Georgia just kind of thumping Kentucky, when that was kind of the conversation, like, can Kentucky hang, or is Georgia going to kind of prove themselves? I think Georgia's kind of that stomping that they had, really kind of solidified them. But like, think about the rest of the teams. Like, think Texas, they're kind of on the outside looking in now too. Obviously Notre Dame lost. You look at USC, probably you and I were talking about this yesterday. Maybe some people in Ohio don't know what happened because it ended at like 3 a.m, but they went to triple overtime against Arizona, so you kind of look around and even Washington, I've been kind of following them and kind of banging that drum for the past couple of weeks. And they were on bye last week, but 2 weeks before they had a 7-point win. So some of these teams that we're really excited about, are kind of experiencing this, and you're not looking at the landscape right now and being like, holy cow, like, we can't even compete with some of these teams. Now, that said, the urgency's got to like go, because it's Purdue and then it's on, because now it just got announced today, big noon kickoff on next 2 Saturdays from now against Penn State. And that ends your seat. Like, if you don't win that game, you're like, we can throw everything good out the window. So like, now you watch this tape and it's no longer like, hey, we have time, we have a week, we have a month, we have this, we have that. No, it's now. We got to go right now and start making a lot of these corrections. And that's going to be in my opinion, that would be the coaching that I'd be given this week.
Well, I think they're prepared to do that. I think the guys are playing with confidence. It's not a lack of confidence, but the execution just hasn't quite been, in my opinion, where it needs to be yet. So, let's get into it. We've got a good little audience with us here now at this point, a couple minutes into the show, and it's time to take a look at the tape. Let's get into it.
Let's take a look at it. And I will reiterate what you said. This is like my favorite show of the week. I love prepping for it. I love getting all these and rewatching the game and kind of watching it from a different eye. We watch on Saturdays kind of as fans in a kind of an emotional way. And then it's fun to kind of go back in and see, hey, what was more of the technical stuff? So in the past, we've done this where I've split it up, in a number of different ways. So sometimes we've watched all offense, then all defense. We've watched mostly offensive clips or mostly defensive clips. I think the story of this game is told in a chronological way. So we're just going to go chronologically. A lot of these clips are going to marry in with each other. It's going to go offense to defense, and we're going to move through the game just like we kind of watched it on Saturday. And really the theme, kind of keep this theme in the back of your head, is that the offense and defense really weren't clicking at the same time. Right, we're going to start early where the defense was kind of holding it down, and then as we get later, the offense kind of holds it down. So, all right, first drive of the game, second drive, Maryland's up 7-0. So this was after I skipped the whole front, right, where we had the rolled snap on the punt. They take it in, a great catch in the end zone, but the first real drive of the afternoon on Saturday. And one of the big themes that I took from Ohio State was they did a really good job of adjusting and disguising on third down. And we'll get into this, and you'll see how this builds up, right? So this first clip, okay, 3rd and 7. All right, so we're in middle of the field, 3rd and 7. This is a big play. And what we're looking at here, we're seeing a potential pressure look, and what it's going to turn into is man coverage. So this is hard to kind of decipher as a quarterback, but this is one going in that, hey, we're going to get man-to-man on third and medium, which this would be. So you got Denzel Burke. We're locked here on the bottom of our screen. We're on the point man here. We're locked up top. We got a couple roamers here, but as it's gonna turn out, we're locked here. You got a safety who's going to play this middle of the field and be in the middle. So you're going to get pressure here, and we're going to go. Okay, so that's kind of what we're going to be seeing here. Now, this is a familiar play. We're going to run this. I'm going to run this clip all the way through, and then we'll rewind it, and you'll recognize what we see here. But it's very common. This is one that I've shown Ohio State run a handful of times, where I know it as tornado is what I know it as, and what I used to run it as. But basically, it's student body, get across the field, and we want to get in Denzel Burke's way. So, hey, we're going to come flat. We're just going to run a route that's a little bit deeper. We're going to run a route that's a little bit deeper, and basically just make a mess so that the offensive guy runs right across the field and he can get up and out the gate. And you'll see here, Maryland does a really nice job of just like get in the way. And as Denzel Burke, you're seeing this, you got to make a choice. Okay. Do I go over top and make this route here, or do I cut underneath? Either way, I lose. It's one of those you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. And you have really no way to win this. So a good play call. They schemed it up really well, and they executed well to move the sticks. Now keep that look in the back of your mind.
Yeah, to me, that was early on. I turned to the guy I was sitting next to in the press box and looked at him, and I said, "Oh boy, I'm having like Josh Gaddis flashbacks of Ohio State and Michigan and him finding ways to just carve apart the Buckeyes." Now they obviously did it a couple years ago, more on the ground game, but it just it had that early feeling like that's a great scheme and it's really well executed. Did Ohio State defend it well? No. When you're lined up in man like that, that play's vulnerable, and it was really well done.
It's tough. It's tough. It's a good scheme, and I'm going to get back to it because I think it almost like works out. Ohio State does a really good job later on with a similar look. So, all right. We come back. Ohio State gets the ball back, right? No damage done on that last drive. Maryland's unable to get any points. We flip it around. So one of the big themes that I've talked about on the first 5 weeks has been staying ahead of schedule, staying ahead of the sticks. All right. It hasn't come back to bite Ohio State at all and in these first 5 games, but it will. It's going to start to rear its ugly head here, and it almost did this past weekend, right? You're seeing here 3rd and 16. That's horrible. You never, ever want to be in 3rd and 10 plus. Like you're in 3rd and 10 plus. It makes it really hard on everybody because what we're going to see here is Maryland is just going to drop 8, or excuse me, they'll end up dropping 7. This guy's blitzing off, this linebacker's blitzing off the running back, just kind of hanging out. But it's really hard to kind of scheme this up and get a good completion here. So what I really want to look at, and you can kind of see where I paused it. Okay, we're all right up in here, but when we're one-on-one with our right tackle, this can't happen. Okay, and there's a couple things here, right? First thing that comes to mind is the situation. 3rd and 16. Both of your tackles got to know, hey, I'm getting this guy's best effort because he wants to wreck this play. But we're getting a deep drop, okay, because we have to get 16 yards at least. So the defenders know that the quarterback's position is going to be much deeper. So they're going to rush a little bit higher, and your tackles just have to adjust to it. This is really disappointing because we have some stuff, and we know our receivers well enough that if you give them the time and give them the space, they're going to make big plays. So you're really disappointed here that we get a one-on-one. Both of our tackles are one-on-one, and Fryer ends up losing pretty quickly, and getting Kyle McCord taken down. It makes it really hard, right? 3rd and 16 makes it hard on the offensive line. But when you're in 3rd and 16 and you get to the top of your drop and you're already getting pressure, you have no chance at all to make anything happen.
So I think one of the common complaints that I heard from fans was that Kyle was sort of going through his progressions too quickly, where you sort of have a number one option on every play that you call. Mm-hmm. And whether or not that option ultimately works out kind of depends on how the play is starting. Some of that's pre-snap, some of that is post-snap. There were people basically saying, hey, he's checking down too fast. Like, why is he throwing short so often? Do you think, and in your experience when you were playing, is there something to a quarterback's, internal like timing mechanism speeding up if he doesn't trust his tackles or his offensive line in general to hold up a pocket enough for him where he can step back, launch, and let it rip?
It's a totally good point, and it's real. That's a real thing. And it can almost go, you see a lot with veteran guys, and a guy that I think of when you make that example is Sam Hartman. A lot of times when you watch Notre Dame, he'll just stand in there and you're like, dude, what are you doing? And his clock, just because he's played 65 games to this point. He knows, like, hey, I got time and uncomfortable. You think of Kyle McCord's career, right? Start last year and 5 starts now this year. So still inexperienced from that perspective. And you got to just feel it out. And it's really hard. And it can go, honestly, it can go like drive by drive. Like, hey, they're doing good. I feel a little bit more comfortable. Or, hey, I got sacked at the top of my drop. And it's a very true thing. It's a very real thing. I think we have a clip in later where the problem is, when you get that, you start kind of making stuff up in your head. You think back to that clip last year that went super viral of Sam Darnold saying, I'm seeing ghosts. Well, that's because he's not trusting things in front of him. And when I'm getting to the top of my drop and I'm supposed to be throwing the post that's going to open up, but I don't feel right, I make up coverage. I make it up in my head and I just check it down because I don't trust what's going on in front of me. So that's a very real thing. And it kind of goes ebbs and flows of it. And there was certainly some evidence of that, kind of later on in this game.
I want you to keep going here, but I'm going to ask a question. Of all the plays that you clipped, I'm following along in the comments section here tonight on our live stream, and there's a lot of discussion around special teams. There's no doubt Ohio State special teams have not looked very solid this year. That is a major problem because you get into some of these games with really good teams, and those mistakes get magnified immensely. And obviously the special teams blunder right on that first punt, almost you could argue directly resulted in Maryland scoring on a short field a few plays later. Did you cut any special teams plays, or can we address that without those tape?
There is no special teams plays in our cut up tonight. We can next time we can come around. I'll include the special teams. Not only is there no special teams in here, I looked at the fake punt, or excuse me, the rolled snap, and that's pretty much all. Like I looked on that, so I don't want to speak, uneducated on it. But I will say that special teams is a third of the game, and games are won and lost. If the question's being asked by our fans, and they're recognizing mistakes on special teams, that's a huge problem. The best response on a Monday or on a Sunday afternoon is that special teams doesn't get brought up, because nothing big happened, no mistakes were made, fair catches, everybody was tackled, no problems. That's a win for the special teams. Obviously was not the case, on Saturday. So, next week, everybody, we'll do a whole punt install for everybody. All right. So here we go. All right. Second quarter. All right. So third and 2. I showed that first third down clip. We're on defense. And now we're in plus territory. Okay. So this is shot territory. Anytime you get in between the 30 and the 40, you got to be alert for deep shots. Okay. And then also you're in 4 down territory right here. So this is like extra alert that, hey, Maryland's going to take a shot here. But what I really want everyone to focus on is, again, very similar to the look we just had on the first down. We're getting straight man across the board, right? We're locked here. We're locked here. We're locked down here. And we have a tight end here who's actually locked by this guy. And then these guys are going to banjo the running back. And then you're going to have a free safety in the middle of the field. Okay, so this is a very man look. Okay, this is the second time we've seen this now. And Maryland takes good advantage of it, right? We're taking a shot. We're throwing it up the field. Now, this is a really hard play for this is Sonny Styles. Okay, this is really tough. This is a tough route to cover. Everyone runs this. We used to call it ship, where it's a hitch by number 1 and a seam right here by number 2. Okay, and you're really just the quarterback's taught, freeze the safety, keep him in the middle of the field, and then we're letting one rip, right down the boundary. And if you throw a perfect ball here, there's nothing a defender can do. And you see a perfect ball right here by Talia. Throws it on that back shoulder. Really nice adjustment there by number 6, and they're able to move the sticks. But a big play there. Again, you tip your cap on that one, and you just kind of buck up in the red zone, and you try to force them to a field goal.
And to Ohio State's credit, they did. Especially when Talia tried to run on, I guess it would have been the third down play, run all the way toward the left pylon.
Yep.
The reality is
a really nice job. You get to that scenario, right? Give up a big shot. All right, let's go. It's goal line time. Keep them out of the end zone. Hold them to 3, which they do. All right. Why I was harping on those first 2 third down clips. Okay, so right in our head, anything 3rd and 7 short, we're getting man-to-man coverage. All right, Brendan, what does this look like? All right, we're looking like man here. We're man here. It's man here. It's man here. We got something here that's telling us, hey, maybe not so much man than your safety. But as the quarterback, you're like, hey, this looks exactly like the other third downs. Every rep in practice, 3rd and 7 and short, I got man. Every single time I've seen this, in the first 2 times in the game I've seen this, I've gotten man coverage. Boom. Talia's like, I'm getting man. I know exactly what I'm doing here. But Ohio State does a really good job of disguising. Okay. Show one thing and adjust post snap. Exactly what they do. You get Eichenberg flying out. We get a fly out here. We're just playing the flats here. And then we get Proctor just doing a really good job right here. Josh Proctor doing a really good job of, he's just eyes on the quarterback. And what you're going to see from Talia, it's hard to tell right here. He just stares this down, right? He thinks, I got man. I got my tight end on a stick route. This is a money play. Oh, and now I'm looking at him. He's wide open. I'm just going to stick this thing right on him because I've been in man coverage the first 2 times. No, sir. Josh Proctor's got other ideas because he's just reading the quarterback's eyes, playing nice zone coverage. Maryland thinks they got a completion for a first down, and instead we do such a good job of disguising the coverage. It wasn't just, hey, great play by Josh Proctor. It was a great, really nice scheme. And what I really love is the adjustment that they made. Okay, hey, man's not working. They've gotten us twice now. 2 critical third downs. They've gotten us 2 times. Let's switch this thing up. We're going to drop into our coverage zone. And Josh, go make a play for us. Be a leader on this team. And he does it.
Yeah, it was huge. I think Maryland converted 3 of their first 4 third downs in that first quarter. And several of them were not because they were, particularly difficult third downs. They had like moderate success on first down, and they regularly were getting 6, 7, 8 yards on second down to set up 3rd and shorts. And it felt a little bit there like death by 1,000 paper cuts. Mm-hmm. So I agree with you. The idea of continuing to show man and then,
show man and get out of it. And too, Brennan, look at this, great. Right? We just talked about that concept that we threw down on the edge, right? It's ship. Okay. So we have a hitch by 1. We have that seam by number 2, and then we have a stick route by 3. It's literally the exact same play they just ran. They thought they had it schemed up really well. Ohio State makes the adjustment. Talia stares his guy down, and Josh Proctor makes a game-changing play because to this point it was like, hey, sweaty palms time. This doesn't feel good. This doesn't feel good. It's not just that muff punt and everything. Like, this doesn't feel right now. And they were able to kind of get it going. All right. Next series here. All right, middle of the field. This is one I just want to show because you and I have been kind of harping on the defensive line, needing to see more out of these guys. And this is a play. This is a clip that I love because we didn't add any pressure on. There was no run blitz. There was no nothing. It was just our 2 defensive tackles. I think this is Tyleik Williams on this play, just being a man amongst boys. Right. Watch big number 91 right here. He's right here on your screen. Big number 91. Take on his man. Stuff him back in the backfield, right? Remember I talked a couple weeks ago about resetting the line of scrimmage? This blue line's the line of scrimmage. We got 1, 2, 3, 4 guys, 3 yards in the backfield, okay? So these are some things like, yes, Tyleik gets the TFL here, but you got 4 dudes in the backfield that are changing the runner's vision and making it really hard on him. But
yeah, I think we did a pretty, fair job in real time post game in our reaction to the defensive line play and saying, hey, look, was this some monster sack or TFL performance? No, they played well. But ultimately we're talking about a group that I think probably had collectively its best game of the year.
Yeah. Now, what I will say here, Brennan, here's the concern. All right. So let's say we're facing maybe a team of different caliber or a left guard that's got different stuff to him, right? And this gets blocked up. Yes, we reset the line of scrimmage. Yes, all that stuff. Here's where we got problems, all right? We're 2-on-1 on Tommy Eichenberg in this back end. This is a problem. This is a loss for us. And then we're out leveraged here, right? He's keeping everything inside, which is the right thing to do. But this running back, if he gets through this, is going to cut. He would run right up his butt and then right off these 2 guys' back ends, and then we'd be, having some big space there. So that's one of those things like, hey, the linebackers, now we know they didn't play it that great. And again, like you said, not for lack of effort or anything, but just lack of execution, and just being kind of out of position. And this one where, you're Tommy Eichenberg here, you're in a bad spot. And I think this is Steel Chambers. You're in a bad spot here that if we don't get this TFL, we got a big chunk play coming kind of down.
Out of curiosity, roll this back to the beginning and let's just see how this evolves, because I agree it certainly doesn't look good at that point. But I almost wonder if Tommy is not trying to be as aggressive to the ball there because he can see, hey, there's 4 dudes in front of him. Mm-hmm. But you certainly don't ever want to get in a spot where you're just totally locked up.
Yeah. Let me see. I can't get this bar to disappear. It just popped up on me. But you can see here, they get off. And that's kind of, you don't know. You probably should block those guys, or maybe one of them. But these two tackle, or these 2 offensive linemen just immediately get to the second level. And he's just trying to keep leverage as best he can. But this is, you're washed out and you're not in a good spot on that play. But, when you got dudes up front who can make big plays, that's super helpful, obviously. All right, here. Let's go. Let's get a sack. All right, we haven't seen JT kind of getting after the quarterback a little bit. And we call this a wide 9. This is one to just watch JT Tuimoloau right here on this edge. Wide 9, really tough block for a tackle, an impossible block for a tight end. Okay, so he's way out there, and he's at a point now where he can just take a beeline straight to the quarterback, and you see him do it here. For whatever reason, man, this is one where you get over the sidelines, you're talking to your right guard and right tackle, like, dude, hey, 44, this is maybe somebody we want to block because he can change the game. And they don't even look at him. Like, the right tackle's first eyes in are on Mike Hall, or maybe it's Tyleek. Maybe I can't tell from here. But anyway, his eyes are in first. And even the right guards, their heads are in like this. And if you're JT, you're like, your eyes light up, man. Like, uh-oh, I'm getting a sack. And he just chased. Look at this guy. Come here. And he just chases him down. Right. Huge play in the game. Right. 2nd and 11. Right. You get a TFL on the first play. Then we're going to sack them on this play. And now they're super behind the chains. You're going to get 3rd and 19, after this. And that was just a huge play for that defense to kind of continue rolling.
He's an animal.
He's sweet, man. He's sweet. All right. Let's talk some good offense, because to this point, it hasn't really been good offense. And I apologize. I don't know why my little block here at the bottom is not disappearing. So we're still in the second quarter. And Brennan, this is one I wanted to pull up. You asked this question in the post-game press conference, and Kyle McCord gave a really interesting answer to you. He said that, he basically took this play because he kind of acknowledged that, hey, my eyes weren't in the right spot and I wasn't anticipating well, or I forget exactly what he said.
He said he wants to visualize pre-snap a little bit better on some of the deep shots he thinks he's going to take.
Yep, and you'll see why here. So before we run the clip, we have what we called, or I called, angle. Okay, so you got 2 receivers, right? You got Marv up top, you got Caden here, he's in line. But we're going to run a post here on the inside, which he has a 2-way go. He can either take it vertically or take it horizontally on like a dig. So he's got an option on what he wants to do. And then Marv on the outside, he's got a big post, okay? So he's taking that thing and he's aiming. Think of if you're looking down the center of the field, he's aiming for the right upright on the other side. That's his aiming point, okay? So just kind of visualize that. So what you're reading here, and this is a perfect setup for this play. What you're reading here is the reaction of the safety. All right, if he gets depth and he gets on top of this, all right, you're perfect, because you know what you're going to do. Cade's going to run this post route or this dig, and you're going to rip it on him. But if he drives on Cade and he's got eyes to Cade, you flip your hips, man, and you throw that thing as far as you possibly can and let Marvin go be Marvin. So here's why he's saying that he needs to visualize it better. Okay, it's tough to see. But, okay, this safety's getting depth. If he would have turned and hit this, and that looks like maybe G. Scott. So if he would have turned and thrown this, that's a good play.
Sure.
But the next level of it, and you can only see it here, okay? You can only see it in this clip. This safety did get depth, but Marvin got on top of him. So that's super green light to take the shot. But look where Marvin's at when he's throwing this ball. Kyle would have known that. They'd have been even at about the 30-yard line or maybe even the 35. Marvin's currently at the 45. Now, Kyle throws this thing 60 yards. Like, he threw from the 5-yard line to the opposite 40. This is a bomb. And you were even telling me that he hit about 15 miles an hour wind right in his face. This is a missile. This is a really, really impressive throw. But he just waited so long to throw it that Marvin had to come back and stop it. And that's what he means when he says, I need to visualize it better. You either throw this shot right on your third step, right? You get to the top and you rip this thing right in between, and we're moving the chains. Because remember where we're at. We need to get out of the shadow of our own end zone, right? If you rip this, everyone's happy, we're moving the sticks. And then you come back like, hey, we're going to take this next shot. But you either throw this dig on your third step, or you hitch right into that to that post. And he takes a couple hitches, right? He's hitching. He throws that thing from the 5. He gets all of it. He throws a bomb, but if he would have timed it up better, that would have been a 95-yard touchdown pass, and it would have been pretty cool. But that's what he was kind of meaning when he said, I need to visualize that a little bit better.
So how does he fix that? Is it just like live bullets, game reps, experience kind of thing?
Yeah, it's a live bullet thing. This is one where you bank and kind of think back to this point. We haven't really seen a scenario like this where anytime it's been to Marvin, it's been first read Marvin, first read, where he's hitting deep shots on him. This is one where you take back, and on Sunday, they watched this clip and he was like, yep, I could feel it. My guess is they talked about it in practice and he was like, yep, because this is what I did. Yeah, I'll do it. And then you get out in the game and you triple hitch into it and leave it short, and you look over to the sidelines. And for me, it was Coach Alexander. For him, it would have been Coach Hartline. They're looking at you like, I told you, dude. Like, I told you to be ready for it. But this is one where it's like, all right, we're going to see this. I promise you, we'll see an exact same clip to this 3 or 4 weeks down the road where he hitches into it and we get a big shot on this. But this is just a nice learning curve, for him. But still a great play. All right. This is awesome by Marvin Harrison. Okay, this is veteran stuff by Marvin. So what they're doing here is, all right, we've thrown the ball to Marvin. I think at this point in the game, he had 6 catches, maybe, or 5. It's for Kyle's 7 completions. So it's like it's been Marvin. We're going to fake a little stutter. We're going to fake a hitch route. We're going to stutter block here, get up the sidelines, and then Emeka's going to come in motion, fake a block, and then also get up the sidelines. Well, we'll watch it here, and that's Julian. Maryland does a really nice job covering it. You can see only one guy bites on it, but the 2 safeties that they were trying to influence, they're back. Okay, so they do a really nice job covering it. This is the moment for a quarterback. However, when you got 18 who's played like a million games and his dad's in the Hall of Fame, this guy's pretty darn smart. All right, so this corner gets super depth. This safety gets super depth. We get this inside route here by G. Scott, and then you get Julian up the seam here. The only guy left is this defensive back, or this linebacker here, who, like we saw, came in like this. Well, no one's in the flat. So watch how Marvin doesn't get it, and then he just kind of floats. He just kind of floats to the flat, and there's nobody left. That's not part of the play. That's one where it's like, hey, we're just going to go be boys. Remember when we played in high school together all those years and we threw around in the backyard and did all that stuff? Like, that's what we're going to do here. And this is a really cool play because both of them on the same exact page, just kind of freewheeling it and kind of making something happen. And 18's just so smart, and he'd be so much fun to throw to.
That was awesome. That was such a great play.
So it's just not like a part of the play, but that's just like, hey, I'm a veteran. You're a veteran. Let's go make it happen. All right, let's give Emeka some love here. Third quarter.
Can you continue to reset time and score and all that since we can't see
it?
Yeah.
Actually, we're rolling here. Yeah, so we're third quarter. This is the first drive coming out of the third quarter.
Okay.
So, yeah, as we go on here, we'll continue to do it. But want to give Emeka some love. He's been the star of the show the first 5 weeks to this point, and really was the star of the Notre Dame game. Obviously, this was Marvin's game, but, I think this is just a really nice play. 2nd and 9. And a really good throw, right? It's 17-10. Things aren't great right now. We need to score. And I just love this route here by Emeka. He's in the slot. And what we got here, you're one-on-one up on the top. And they're doing, I referenced it earlier, banjo. Okay, so This guy's got a banjo coverage. So think of it like banging on a drum, okay? It's that drum in front of you, and one's on the inside, one's on the outside, okay? And these guys are just two drumsticks, okay? So anything that breaks out, this safety or this guy's going to take. Anything that breaks in, this guy's going to take. So basically, they're just double covering him, and then they got underneath coverage by that linebacker. Well, just based on this, here's our hole right here, all right? And I just think Emeka does such a good job of pushing vertical, and all the receivers do this. This is such a Brian Hartline thing where they just push vertically, and they look like for 10 yards, he's coming off the line, and you're like, uh-oh, he's running by. And the safety's like, uh-oh, I got to get depth because Marvin just beat me about 30 minutes ago. I can't let that happen again. Watch Emeka off the line. He's moving, man. He's moving. And then he just shuts that thing down. And look at the space he creates just by flying off the line and shutting it down and being just elite. Watch everyone who's come through here receiver-wise, Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave. You even go back to Devin Smith, Paris Campbell, all these guys. Like, they're so good at that, and they're just so well coached. And like when you're that well coached, this is the kind of space that you can create.
I mean, JSN might have been the best route runner of all of them.
Yeah, Jackson Smith and Jigba, a perfect example. He was so good. So good. But when you have such a vertical threat, they got to respect it, and you can create space like that. And then, oh, by the way, I'm just going to catch it, spin 3 times, get 10 extra yards.
I don't know if it's part of exactly what you're planning to break down with some of the offensive stuff, but I would love it if you could point out along the way how Ohio State tried to adjust its offensive scheme to get more targets to Marvin, because to your point, Emeka was the star of the Notre Dame game because Marvin was doubled a lot and they couldn't really throw to him. And it felt like Marvin wasn't always flanked out far to one side of the field. They put him in the slot. They tried to get him in some situations where the defense had to make choices. And I thought ultimately that led to him having some additional chances. It's
a really good point. I think what would be fun to do is to us go back and watch the Indiana game and just look at how just totally different these two, these aren't even the same teams, you know. It's just, I think back to that often, how confused both you and I were when we were watching that. Like, what the heck is on this field right now?
What are they running?
Like, what are we doing? Like, what are we doing here? No, but it's a great point, and that's something further on I'll definitely get into of how they've continued to adjust and kind of move forward. All right. This play is awesome. It's like penthouse, outhouse, penthouse, like good, bad, good. So we get a little pressure here, and it creates a nice big play for the Bucs. So 3rd and 10. Okay, we know they're passing the football. Okay, another big play. Let's get off the field. We've kind of struggled on 3rd down. Besides the pick 6, like they've been kind of moving the ball. We got some momentum, right? We just punched one in. Now let's go. Let's start to make some separation here. So 3rd and 10, let's dial something up. Actually, let's drop coverage and let our dudes on the defensive line, let's go cause some havoc. This guy is a people eater, man. 91 he was player of the game last week. Look at this. Hey, I'll take 2 guys, right? I know you're not looking at me. You probably should. But this center, you are nothing. You cannot touch me. And I'm just going to come, and I got a free shot at the quarterback. All right, so we're really, really good here. JT flying home. We're almost there. We got caught in a spin move. But Talia makes a great play. All right, he gets out of this. This should be a sack, okay? This should be big trouble. And this is going to be, you know, you got Drew Aller coming to town in a couple weeks. He'll do the same exact thing where he can get out. Now, he won't do the same things Talia does, but he gets out of this, okay? We did a really good job. Our defensive line, 3 guys, caused a ton of pressure, got Talia off his spot. And now we should have completed the sack. But our secondary now, hey, tag in, boys, because Talia tries to do something. This is like quarterback. No, you lose this. You learn this when you're 4 years old. Never throw back across your body. And this always happens. But you kind of lose the ball in here. But Talia gets out of the pocket, tries to make a superhero play. No, sir. I got Lathan Ransom with his name all over that one. Look at this. That's such a good athletic play. I'm not really sure who he was throwing it to, but we'll take it.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. I mean, it almost looked like he tried to force that into double coverage because with the way Lathan high pointed that ball, I mean, it's like, well, Proctor's there. I mean, I guess he's looking at the guy there 10 on the right side of the screen. But honestly, I don't even think Taulia saw Lathan Ransom.
Well, that's what they showed it on. They showed it on the TV clip. They showed it on the TV cut that from the back view, he kind of got lost behind Tommy from Talia's angle, and you couldn't see him, so it looked like a play like this. But this is one where it's like you teach your quarterback, you're like, take the cape off. Let's throw this thing away. Punt that ball down. You're not Superman. We don't need Superman plays because this is what changes the game, right? We were in good position. If you punt it away, we'd be fine. But instead we throw an interception to an incredibly athletic guy who not only picks it off, but gets plus 15 yards. And now Ohio State's rolling. Here comes the avalanche, right? This is what we kind of felt kind of during the game. And this is when I felt like Coach Day and Hartline kind of got into their bag of tricks a little bit and started really dialing them up. So this play is like my all-time favorite play ever. It's a tough play to run and execute. We call it Y sneaky. Y being the tight end. Oh, no, wait. We're coming to that one next. This one, not good. I jumped the gun here. All right, 4th and 1, okay? Think of the scenario. 17-17. We just make a huge interception, okay? And momentum's in our way, right? It's 4th down and 1. We need 1 yard. Gotta have it. Like, this is, hey, boys, like, we're going on the backs of the offensive line. You better move this line and give us 1 yard, right? The last 5 years, that'd be no-brainer. We're getting this thing. But just this is the disappointing part to me is like, yes, we get some push, but like, man, like why this shouldn't be this hard. Everyone in the stadium knows we're running the ball, but it's like I don't know if it's a running back thing, you know, where it's like, hey, Chip, hit this thing at 100 mile an hour right now, boom, and take this linebacker on because there is a little bit of a hole. But it's like, you know what? It's just like was for me. I was like, man, this is the biggest play of the game to this point. Why aren't we moving this? Why isn't this just an easy handoff and we get this by 3-4 yards? And instead Chip has to, you know, kind of double fight for it here. Gets hit, gets pushed back, and thankfully has the leg drive. It's just some of that stuff that just kind of continues to linger. And it's like, come on, guys, like, let's go now. Let's go.
Yeah, and look, like, I want to give Maryland credit because I think they're a good team and their defensive line isn't too bad. But this is becoming too common of a thread. We haven't seen 5 straight weeks of dominant defensive line play where, you know, it's easier to swallow if you're not moving the line of scrimmage as an offensive line. I can't understand it. It's shared blame across the board. I don't know that anybody on the offensive line, I would say, has had a good year. Certainly not by their standards. Mm-hmm. They seem way more comfortable in pass pro. I mean, again, like I don't want to roast anybody because I don't think that's fair. We are talking about a team that's 5-0 with a bunch of talent, and they're going to win a lot of games. But this is not even close to the offensive line play that we're used to seeing from some of Ohio State's premier offensive linemen. And I am starting to get concerned because in 2 weeks and then again in another 4.5 or 5 weeks or whatever it is to the Michigan game. I think it's 4 weeks then. Man, we are going to see some guys playing defense in those 2 games that are really good.
And think back to the problems that have plagued us against Michigan and against some of these bigger teams. It's like it's losing the battle up front. And it's like these things are starting to trickle in week after week. And like against Indiana, it was like, all right, let's fix it against Youngstown State and Western Kentucky. And you saw some things, but also like some things against Youngstown State kind of linger. And then it was like, all right, Notre Dame test. They did a good job, but like very easily that game could have not gone our way, but it went our way. And then it's like, all right, let's continue to get better. And as you continue to see things like this where, it's just kind of lingering and you don't love it. You just don't love to see it. But all that said, move the sticks. All right. And now let's dial one up here. Okay. So, all right, this is beautiful. This is like my favorite play of the day. It should have went for 6, but they did a nice job. This guy makes a good play down here at the bottom of your screen. So this is the Y sneaky play. You do this oftentimes off of play action, okay? Right, here we go. 18. This is our guy, right? He's having a day. He's balling out. He's the number 1 guy that Maryland's focused on. So we're going to get a play fake here. Okay, we're going to get Kyle to roll out this way and fake it going this way. You're going to get 18 in the flat. you're going to get a little token block and then into the intermediary there. And then on the backside, you're going to get a deep over, sometimes called a dover. Football guys really make it complicated, dover. And then we got what we call a Y sneaky. Y is just the tight end. Sneaky is the route. So you'll see Cade Stover. You can't see his helmet, but he's right at my cursor. He's going to kind of block a little bit, and then he's going to run just like this up the sidelines. Okay. This is just such a cool play. And it's always against man coverage. It's like 100 times out of 100, it's a touchdown. Maryland does a nice job here kind of defending it at the end, so it doesn't go for 6, but it's still awesome. So let's run it here. You'll see it. All right, there's Marvin in the flat. All right, G. Scott blocked, but you're getting that deep over, and then you see Cade, right? You see Cade, and then actually Chip does a really nice job of, hey, I'm open, to drag this corner down, and Kyle does a really good job of being patient and creating a beautiful window for Cade Stover there. It is. In an effort to in an effort to not use the same word, but it's the one that's come to mind. It's just a sneaky play call, like it really is. And it's just really good by Cade, really nice patience, running straight at that corner. All right, getting vertical, and then a really accurate throw. Sometimes it's a hard throw to come back across your body like that. Really nice play and good execution by the Bucs here. All right, this one just was a favorite of mine. Just a little physicality. Come on, boys, let's get a hit on. All right, Josh Proctor, you're having a game. Right, you got to pick 6.
This was the Gus Johnson recollection.
No, not quite. I didn't get the Denzel Burke one on, but this is similar. This could have been a barbecue shot from Gus Johnson too, because I mean, beyond I'll show the hit in a second. This is like really hard to do. We're 10 yards away from the pass catcher, and you're running full speed. It's really hard. They can make a quick juke move, and that's when you see like, oh, he broke his ankles. Like that's when you see it. But Josh Proctor does an awesome job. Just I'll let this play. Boom. And that's a tight end where it's a safety. He's undersized. He's coming in like a missile, man. And he just delivers a shot. Boom. What a good play. What a really, really nice play by Josh Proctor. I wanted to show that just because it fired me up. And it's 1st and 10. And it's like, hey, even if they get 5 yards or even if they get 3 yards, they feel good. Instead, your safety's elite. And this is a 2-yard loss or a 1-yard loss. So now it's 2nd and 11 as opposed to 2nd and 8. It's different. That makes it.
And you know what's especially cool about this? First of all, Josh Proctor was named the Big Ten Defensive Player of the Week this week. I think it's especially cool when you see stories like this because a couple of years ago when Josh Proctor got hurt and like you're kind of sitting there going, man, I hope his time as a Buckeye is not over, right? And even if it's not, like if he comes back, you know, what's still going to be in the tank? Maybe it's going to be Sonny Styles time. Like, you know, is this still a Josh Proctor defense like that you want to build around? And the reality is, I mean, you hear the terminology all the time, right? Safety-driven defense. That's how Jim Knowles talks about his scheme. And he's got 3 really good guys that can play those positions in Ransom and in Styles and certainly in Proctor. But I don't think there is a guy on Ohio State's team that plays with the fire and the speed, the tenacity, the aggressiveness that Proctor does. And sometimes it burns him, right? Like sometimes he gets caught with his hand in the cookie jar. But it's plays like this, to your point, where like, man, you are literally 10 yards away from where the ball catcher is to close that gap that fast that what Maryland thinks on a 1st and 10 play is going to be like, yeah, okay, look at the receivers at the bottom of the screen, locked up, about to be locked up. Like, no problem. We'll get something here. Never did they think at this point that this was going to be a 2-yard loss.
Nope. And you're right. You make a really good point. Like, we're blocked up out here. If this is a missed tackle or anything, if he's not there, this is more than 3 yards. Like, this could be something. They got something here with these 2 blocks. Such a good play. Man, it juiced me up. I saw that. I was like, oh, yeah, that's going in. That's the
thing about this game that does stand out to me. While there were unquestionably some frustrating moments, there were some big moments of leadership. And Josh Proctor was obviously a part of that. Marvin Harrison Jr. was obviously a part of that. But, like, you felt like there were guys that were putting the team on their back in situations where they knew, hey, look, I'm not going to let my guys down. I'm going to be the one to make the play. And, you don't always see special individual performances on defense. Sometimes you think too much about what the stats say, but I just thought Proctor in particular played his ass off. And
Yeah.
The interception was awesome. Cool that he scored. That's great. But I just thought he played an awesome game.
Yeah, he was fantastic. And it was fun to watch him. Fun to watch him fly around. Who also, another guy who was fantastic was Cade Stover, right? We talked about it earlier in the week, how much I love tight ends, right? We showed that play up the sidelines, how he did a really nice job there. His next touchdown's coming. It's not here. Keep getting ahead of myself. But here's something that is something to keep in mind as we start seeing Linz, thank you. Yes, thank you so much. What a great note. I appreciate that. This is one that we're going to see come back to potentially bite us, because this is kind of a very standard blitz where all that is they took their defensive end, who's right here, and kind of just walked him down. So he's no longer playing that defensive end position. He's not in that 5 or 7 technique, or 7 or 9 technique, which is out here. He's kind of in a 3-eye, maybe a 5, which is basically just on the guard. And we do a really poor job of communicating this. So all that it is now you just move this down, and then this running back and this left tackle have to communicate who's taking who. Okay. And all that is a simple ID. So I'm going to run this, and then we'll talk in more detail about it, but I'll just run it here, and you can see, miscommunication leads to a sack. That's a no, don't do that. But that's the song for another time.
So who do you put that on?
Yeah. So I don't know how they communicate this, but in my mind, it's a very simple thing. All you got to do, all the left tackle has to do here is, and a lot of times they'll do this. Shoot, sorry. Oh, I went way back. All right. A lot of times they'll do this where they'll literally tap their hip. So I'll stand up here. They'll tap their hip like, hey, I got outside, you got inside, or however they communicate it. But this is on the running back and the left tackle, because everything else is blocked up and there's a miscommunication somewhere here. So it's very obvious that these two are blitzing. Now, let's just say one blitzes and one drops out in coverage. Well, that's okay, because we're blocked up regardless. If they both come, we're blocked up. If neither of them come, we're blocked up. But if they both come and we haven't communicated who we're blocking, this happens and we lose 19 yards. So this is one where the left tackle and the running back have to talk to each other. There's got to be some kind of a communication of, hey, I got the left outside linebacker and you got the inside guy, or I'm going to slide, pick the inside guy and you fit on the outside guy, because you see both of them are going in. The trainer sees it. He's like, he's going in. I'm late to the outside. And now he's way off and missing that because he doesn't even get a hand on him. And that leads to a huge sack.
Yeah, man, I don't know what else to say. That was not good.
And that's one that you can easily, this is correctable. This was corrected on Sunday. Hey, if we can't get it based on a call, I don't know, the stadium was packed. At this point, for sure, it was still people in there. Was it too loud, this or that? They have an answer for this now, and they need to, because, hey, guess what Penn State's going to do on the first, whatever it is, it's 1st and 10. They're going to move their right defensive end down, and they're going to say, hey, did they solve this problem? Because if not, here comes another sack. But this is one that's easily correctable, and something that they'll definitely have improved upon. All right, 2nd and 33. Not a good spot to be in. But a fine spot when you got 18. Now, this is one where I would love to talk to Maryland's defensive coordinator and be like, what the heck are you doing? They're in whatever's going on down here. They're man-to-man here. So this is, again, remember Emeka's curl catch for about 15 yards where they're banjoing number 2. They're double teaming.
For a second, Anthony?
Yep.
We just got a really good question here that I was thinking about, but I didn't verbalize. I'll pop this in. Mike jumps in and asks, can the quarterback relocate the running back to his left hip? What do you think?
Absolutely. What a great question. You absolutely can spin that over. Now, maybe they have a rule, and if this were Peyton Manning, yes, he would grab that running back, and he would, matter of fact, Peyton would put him right about here and just be like, hey, this is what we're doing. Does Kyle have that ability? I don't know. But yes, you absolutely can. And what that would do, Mike, is be like, all right, you are taking the threat of the run away. Remember, this is 1st and 10. You don't know if you want to say, hey, we keep our running back on the right side and let him slide over to the protection. But it's a great question. And yes, the quarterback does have that ability to do that in most offenses. Now, does Kyle have that ability right now? I don't know is the answer.
Yeah.
But really good question.
All right.
So we're double teaming number 2 here. Now, I don't know why we're doing this, right? We're 2nd and 33. Maryland, you're still in this game. You got a chance here. If you can get Ohio State off the field, you're down 20-17 early in the fourth quarter. So let's not play man-to-man coverage on number 18, but we do anyway. And Kyle just floats one up here. This catch is out of control. You don't understand.
Yeah, the catch is, but so's the throw. Like
the throw's really, really good. Look at this throw, dropping it right on the sidelines. Now, the catch is my favorite because he had to track that thing over his left shoulder, over top of his head, and then to his right shoulder. It was spectacular. Yep, exactly. Yeah, have your sons or husbands or wives go and throw you a baseball and have to catch it like that. You'll drop it 100 times out of 100. I know I would. But Marvin here makes an unbelievable adjustment. And he's got see what I mean here? Like they're very clearly double teaming number 2, like the safety's posture. He's got no help over top of Marvin. And you can actually see, if we had a back view, you'd be able to tell, but Kyle's staring right here. Like I'll click out of it. Look at his eyes. It's hard to tell, but his eyes are right here. He's like, all right, fine. I'll throw it to Marvin. He's 1-on-1 and he just chucks that thing up. Perfect throw, perfect catch. And hey, maybe 2nd and 33 is advantageous for the Buckeyes, I guess.
That's just ridiculous.
It's crazy. It's crazy. And then now we're going. All right. Now it's like here again, the avalanche. Momentum's a crazy thing in college sports, and especially in college football. All right. And so we're gonna dial one up here. All right, let's get a little motion. Let's get G. Scott into the flat, and then let's see if they're disciplined enough to guard number 8. My guess is they're not. Right, little motion, little token fake, and 8's pretty good. Let's guard him. That's unfortunate. That really stunk a little.
Yeah, because I think he probably tackles.
Yeah, that hamstring's not in a good shape today. But this is again why I always harp on like tight ends are a quarterback's best friend, and like that was my favorite because he's so good at blocking, and Cade Stover's so elite at both. Think of George Kittle. He played last night. Guy can block everything and catch everything. Very similar where, hey, when Cade's on the line, it's not a dead giveaway that it's going to be a pass. Like he could very easily, we could run straight at you with Cade Stover being the lead blocker and you'd still have to respect it. So that's why he can get so open when you do just a nice little token fake. He comes off like he's coming to the linebacker, right? Right now it's like, all right, this is a run. Nope, no, it's not. And his eyes right now are like, touchdown, baby. Like, let's go. And Kyle does a really good job. This one as a quarterback, you're like, just float one out. Just get it to him and let him go make a play. But so good. Great call, great scheme, and just really good execution. And having a weapon like Cade Stover is pretty special.
I mean, it's just amazing to me how you go from 2nd and 33 to those 2 plays. Like, as a defense, that has to just crush your spirit.
Yeah.
Like you think, all right, we're in it. We're right there. We're down 3. We got these guys way on their heels. And then those 2 plays happen. Like,
I mean, think of it, man. It's like it's 20-17. Like Matt, talk to a Maryland fan when it was 2nd and 33. They're like, this is our day, baby. We're coming into the shoe. We got this. And then 45 life seconds later, it's 7 points Buckeyes. Like that's typical Ohio State. This is awesome. This is a really good one. One of my favorites from the afternoon. So this came after Marvin just scored. We called it an illegal motion. Super questionable in my opinion, but really just savvy by 18 and by Kyle here. So what we're getting is Tampa 2. All right. So you're gonna get coverage here. You're going to get this safety's trying to bluff that he's inside, but he's going to play deep over there. This corner is going to be in the flat. This safety is a hook defender. So he's going to hook. He's going to play about right here, and he's responsible for about this area. And then this linebacker here is the Tampa 2 guy. This defense came from Tampa Bay. How to score twice in one play. Yeah. This defense, right, he's responsible for the deep middle. So Brian Urlacher was one for the Bears who used to be just incredible at this. He could run with anybody. But what we'll do on offense is use our number 3 to clear this sucker out, right? We're just going to run him there. And then Marv is going to run just a deep in. And once he clears this linebacker, we're going to rip it behind his head. All right. So just kind of watch how this develops. Right. Safety gets depth over top. He's kind of getting drawn by this guy. This back safety who's on my cursor, he's getting depth over top of Emeka. And Marvin's going to just be savvy around that hook defender, find a nice little hole. Boom. I mean, it's just when you draw this play up, you're like, all right, boys, we're running this against cover 2. And this is what it's supposed to look like. And then this is what happens on a game day. It's just, this is perfect. This is textbook.
To Tim's point, how to score twice on one play. I thought the illegal motion call there was hot, flaming garbage. I totally disagreed with that. I know what they were looking at. I just thought, I mean, man, that happens so many times a game, every game. It is never called. Good for Ohio
It was
State
also
sticking
there's a good picture floating around on Twitter, or excuse me, X, but just the flag came out like very, 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 very late.
Yeah.
Like very late. Very questionable. But hey, Marvin can go. One thing I will add, hey, we're stout here. They're passing this. There's a twist coming on here, but we're stout, right? You need some time for this to develop. This is a nice pocket, and it equals a touchdown. So that's 11-1, man. That's 11-1, and Marv hits the silencer. Bryce James was in the building. Hopefully that helped get him to play hoops for the Buckeyes. All right, 2 more plays. Actually, no, last play here. Let's go. Defensive line. Let's shut the door here, okay? Let's shut the door. 34-17, just kill their momentum. I mean, come on. Mike Hall, baby, right here. Just watch this. I'll run this whole thing. This guy looks like a ballerina. Watch this. Whoop. I mean, that left guard doesn't get a finger on him. This is like, pretend he's got a basketball in his hand. This is a crossover. Watch this. Whoop. That's the crossover and to the bucket. We'll get a sack, baby. Do your sack dance. Yes, sir.
And especially after earlier in the game, he was called for a roughing the passer penalty on apparently hitting the quarterback too high. I don't know. I thought that was a little
Again, that one a little questionable, but such a good play, and it was a nice kind of a bookend to the game there. It's good performance by that defensive line, I thought.
All right, so who's your MVP of the game?
Let's do my second MVP because MVP number 1 is Marvin Harrison. Marvin Harrison Jr. for sure. My backup MVP, the second most valuable player, has got to be Josh Proctor, right? For all the things you just said. I mean, in a game where the offense didn't have it going, they couldn't figure it out. Really chunky start, man. If that defense didn't show up, it could have very easily been 17-0, 21-0, and now we're in big trouble. But with that defense being as elite as it is, those guys, man, kind of kept us in it, and Josh Proctor kind of led the charge on that one.
Yeah, I mean, I have a hard time disagreeing because actually I have been thinking about it. That was probably the best game I've ever seen Proctor play. He was darn near perfect. But for the sake of pointing out somebody else, I thought Tyleik Williams had a monster day. And if he continues to develop like that, it feels like Ohio State's defensive line rotation, while annoying to me at times, it's as if they're going with certain packages based on, are we playing to stuff the run? Are we really trying to get after the quarterback here? I think Tyleik Williams is starting to show that he's versatile enough, even though he's big. He's versatile enough that he can get to the quarterback and not just be a guy that you're trying to, take a double team and free up a linebacker kind of thing. He is really, really impressive.
He's good, man. And, him and Mike Hall in the middle. And I think, too, you'll start to see that rotation start to pay dividends. We're in week 6 now. It's going to be week 7. That's one where it's like, yes, everyone, literally, not just you, everywhere you look, it's like, holy cow, quit taking Mike Hall out of the game. And yes, quit taking him out of the game. However, I would like a fresh Mike Hall against Penn State and against Purdue and against Michigan than I would against, Western Kentucky, So it's like you get both ends of it. And it's like you're going to start to see it now. We're going to get into late October. You're going to get into November football. And that's when it's like, all right, It's going to be Tyleik Williams. It's going to be Mike Hall. It's going to be when it's time, when it's crunch time, we know who our 4 is going to be on that defensive line, and they're starting to play really, really well together.
All right, so I know this is our inside the film room review session. Life got a little chaotic yesterday with some other stuff going on for both of us, so we didn't do a normal what we learned show. So totally on the spot. Give me something you learned about this team on Saturday that maybe you didn't know prior to Saturday.
Yeah, for me, this was kind of the first real test, and what I learned was that the bye week affected them, and I want to say this in the nicest way possible. I hated how they started. And obviously I'm an offensive guy. I see the game through an offensive perspective. It's unacceptable to start the way you started, and they got really lucky at the end of the half. Talia had a huge critical mistake throwing the ball short and then not getting points. They were still in jeopardy, even of it being, even because you think about it, if Maryland gets that score at the end of the half, maybe even if it's 3 points, they come out and they score a touchdown right away. That's a 10-point swing without Ohio State getting the ball, and that's huge. Your offense cannot put you in a hole because you can't keep relying on the defense to keep you in games. They did it this week. They did it against Notre Dame. You can't keep relying on that. And that was my biggest takeaway is I was very disappointed in the slow start. Was it the bye week? Hopefully. But what I learned was the offense needs to start fast. They need to start fast, and it has to be an emphasis moving forward.
Yeah, hard to disagree with that. I think my takeaway was also defensive, though. I learned that Ohio State's secondary can hold up against probably one of the 2 best quarterbacks they'll see all year. I don't know that everybody would agree with this. I think Talia is better than Sam Hartman. I don't know yet if he's better than Drew Aller, but Drew Aller's really good. J.J. McCarthy's really good. I mean, there are 4 quarterbacks on Ohio State's regular season schedule that are legit, and I think Talia might be number 2. So I learned that this defensive backfield, which it felt like so often last year, was just getting cooked. Whatever they have been able to do, the schematic changes that Jim Knowles has made, Ryan Day always says problems are one of 3 things: personnel, scheme, or coaching. Well, they've pretty much got the same personnel this year than they had last year in the defensive backfield, except for Igbinosun. So, we're talking about largely the same group of guys. They have made some schematic adjustments. They've coached it a little differently. And now all of a sudden, the unit that has this reputation of BIA, Best in America, is kind of living up to that right now. And I'm not worried about Penn State or Michigan gashing Ohio State with some major home run plays repeatedly. Not saying that they won't hit one, but I have more faith in Ohio State's secondary right now than I've had in a long time, like several years, which is cool. In a lesser degree, I've also feel like I've learned that Caden Curry needs to be on the field more. 92 can play. He's a really good defensive end. And I don't mean this to sound downgrading of Jack Sawyer. I think Jack's solid, and he's not a liability by any stretch. Caden Curry's been flashing lately, in my opinion, where I want to see him out there in some critical situations more often. He's a game wrecker, and I don't know what it is about the way he plays with just that slight extra little bit of quickness compared to what Jack's got. But Caden Curry feels like he has a monster future, and it's been fun to watch him develop in his limited time here.
Yeah, hard to argue with either of those points. I mean, the secondary is one of my favorite groups on this team for obvious reasons. They're not scared to hit. I didn't have the Denzel Burke play on there, but the Gus Johnson barbecue play. I mean, he lit that guy up. And when your cornerbacks and your safeties hit like the way that these guys do, that is not even a jolt. Brendan, it's not even a jolt to the team. It's like an electrocution to the team. Like everyone sees it, and it's like, oh my gosh, let's go. Like it fires everybody up, especially when your corners are sticking.
Well, and Proctor's biggest hit of the game, I didn't think was even the one that we showed. I thought it was the one on special teams.
Yeah.
I mean, he hit somebody so hard on special teams that everybody in the stadium felt it. Which, on one hand, you're almost like, God, the guy that's playing really, really well defensively, do we want him lighting someone up on special teams? I know you hold your breath there, but on a day where special teams otherwise kind of struggled, I thought that was a standout play.
I would also add to that, and it kind of goes back to what we were saying earlier, is like that's the importance of special teams. And a lot of the great teams, and you'll see this, like their guys run down on kickoff and their guys run down on punt. And it's twofold because one thing, it's super important to win football games. The second is that they're going to be doing it next year in the NFL is when they're there. So it's Ohio State. It's like kind of kudos. Like if you're running down on special teams, it's a big deal. But that just emphasizes the point of like special teams is really important. It was really good questions, and it's something to keep an eye on here as we move forward. Like some of the gaffes on special teams kind of shouldn't be happening,
Well, Ryan Day is going to talk to the media tomorrow as the Buckeyes put Maryland in their rearview mirror and get ready for a Purdue team that lost to Iowa, gave up 20 points to Iowa. So does that mean Purdue's defense is atrocious? Iowa scored 20 points against them. I'm laughing, but the reality is
lighting it up.
Yeah. Well, the reality is it feels like every coach at Ohio State somewhere along the way in their tenure has gone to Purdue and stubbed their toe. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if this is like a ripe for the upset kind of game. I'm certain Ohio State is so hyper-focused on the things they have got to correct that they're not going to get caught looking past Purdue for Penn State. You will never convince me of that, given the way Ohio State's played against Notre Dame in the second half offensively and in the first half against Maryland. I refuse to believe that this is a trap game because they got a big one coming the next week. But I don't know. We got to dive into Purdue a little bit here. Ohio State should go on the road and win by 3 scores.
Yeah.
But will they? That's hard to do in the Big Ten, and I don't know. There are some holes along the way that need plugging.
Yeah, no question. It's in my opinion, this team isn't playing well enough for there to be a trap game. I guess is kind of the way I see it. Like if they were rolling, I would be concerned. Like, hey, this is a potential trap. They got so much to work on, so much to get better at, and the offense can't take a day off because they darn near took a half off, and
right.
That's huge. And the defense is like, hey, we're going to continue to push this thing. Like, we're going to continue to just keep getting better. I don't think that they're playing well enough for there to even be an opportunity for a trap game. So yeah, I definitely think you're spot on there.
No, fingers crossed it doesn't materialize itself and ruin some of the fun that we're hoping to have in Columbus here in, I guess, in 12 days' time. All right. Well, that'll close the book on our Maryland chat. Looking forward to getting into some of the stuff that we're going to hear from Ryan Day and from some of the players here in the next couple of days. And obviously looking forward to a trip to West Lafayette to go watch Ohio State and Purdue on Saturday at noon. If you're not there, I hope you subscribe to Peacock because that's the only way you can see the game this weekend. There is your early week warning in case you didn't know. The game is only being streamed on Peacock this weekend. All right. For Anthony Moeglin, I'm Brendan Gulick. We had a great audience tonight, a ton of great conversation in the comment section. Thanks for being an involved group. And, there were a couple of notes in there that were complimentary, and we certainly appreciate that. We would appreciate if you'd share with your family and friends that are Ohio State fans. We want to build something that's really cool here. I know there's an awful lot of places that you guys like to go hang out and consume your Ohio State content. And, many of my colleagues put out great stuff. Certainly enjoy that. We would love to have some of your time and attention too, and hope that you enjoy the stuff that we put together. So look forward to Purdue on Saturday, but also previewing the game. You can find all the latest news and info about the team over at BuckeyesNow.com. And the Buckeye Breakdown podcast is available wherever you like to get your favorite show. We'll see you tomorrow after Ryan Day has a chance to talk with the media down in Columbus.